Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure to follow us on Spotify so you can catch every new episode that we post. Also, follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. In our bio, there's a link to join our Discord server where you can join in on the discussion. You can give us takes, comments, questions for us to talk about on future episodes. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
When I play up game and then talk, I'm trying, Jennifer.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 12, I believe, right? Episode 12 of the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the offseason moves, the draft, what we would have liked to see if we were in charge of making decisions. And for the first time ever, we're going to talk about our favorite Blazer moments of all time. So it could be from this year or previous years. We've been saying we're going to do that for a long time, and we're finally going to do it. So let's jump right into the offseason. We've already talked about the drama with Dame, and I'm glad that he kind of came out and just shut it all down. So we're not going to really talk about anything to do with Dame wanting to trade or anything. We're past that now. Let's go ahead and number one thing on, I think, almost every Trailblazer fan's list was to re-sign Norman Powell. We did do that for 5 years and $90 million, which I think is an insane great value for him to have him for 5 years for $18 million a year. Perfect contract. And I think finally Neil O'Shea did a good job on signing a player and giving us a good contract for him. How do you guys feel about the Norman Powell situation just in general?
I was really nervous for those couple hours before he actually signed because I was hoping it happened right away. So my relief when I saw the tweet that he re-signed and on such a good value too, I was so happy.
Yeah, I mean, insane value.
It was perfect.
Yeah, his contract is amazing for what he can bring. He's sure some people may be skeptical because he didn't show a lot for us. But if he was playing in a pure position, it's for sure worth 18 million, maybe even more, considering what other players are receiving 18 million
Exactly
now in this day. So to get Norman Powell for 18 million, it's something good in the midst of average deals.
Well, like you said, off the top of my head, Tim Hardaway got 18 million a year for, I believe, 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to think of who the other one was that had a comparable contract to that.
What's his name? Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson, thank you. That is the other one. So, me personally, I take Norman Powell over either of those two. So to get him for 5 years and the same amount they're getting, I'm 100% fine with that.
I think the reason we got him for 18 is because we gave him like 5 years, and I think a lot of other teams were probably giving him like 20 mil or maybe like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like that long-term security is probably what convinced him.
Yeah.
And honestly, he goes until he's 33. So that last year, who knows? It could be rough, but it's really not a big deal by that point.
That's the question: is will we have him on our roster by that time?
Oh yeah, and it's super tradable contract too. So like we can get rid of it if we want.
Yeah, I think this is by far one of the best contracts Neil O'Shea has ever done. So,
not hard.
You don't think it's hard?
No, because he's thrown some really bad contracts before.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So yeah, for it to be the best, it is very good, but for it to be the best, not saying much. But
that's
yeah,
true.
Considering the market today, man, it's an amazing deal. Just I saw the other day, like Doug McDermott is now just signed a contract for 15 million a year.
Yeah, crazy.
I don't know what the Spurs are doing. They gave out a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. They took our boy Zach Collins for 22 million for 3 years, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Zach. I still think he has a bright future, but we did have to let him go. I thought he was gonna get minimum contract wherever he went, So when I saw, what was it, 3 years for 22 or something,
Yep.
that's what I would give him if he was healthy. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's a
Exactly.
pretty big risk by San Antonio. I hope it works out for him though.
So replacing Zach, essentially, we signed Cody Zeller to a minimum contract, a veteran minimum for 1 year. I don't think there was a player option. I could be wrong, but I don't think there was. So we have Cody Zeller for 1 year. How do you guys feel about Cody Zeller?
I was very whelmed by this. Someone made a post on the Reddit a couple days ago, and then when I saw that, I was like, "This seems like such a Neil O'Shea thing to do." And I was hoping that didn't actually happen, but I guess on the bright side, he is like roughly an average starting center. So if he's your backup, that's pretty good. But he's injury prone. He doesn't really do any specific thing very well. He's like an okay guy all around. I feel like there were probably some better options, but for a minimum, I mean, you can't really complain.
Yeah. There's something interesting about this because from the topic that we are going to do after of our ideal off seasons, I did one now and one like 4 days ago, and the 4 days ago I actually signed Cody Zeller for the bench, so I was really surprised and I really like the player. I didn't have him like when I signed Cody Zeller, it was just filler, and in real life, he's probably our best signing. So that's not the ideal scenario I did. So, but yeah, I like the player. He's good off the bench. He's way better than Cantor for us. He'll be way more positive. I watched a few games for Charlotte. He was very good in all of them. It's just an underrated player to say the least.
Yeah, I think as far as what we need from him, I think he can provide it for us. And at
For
a
sure.
veterans minimum, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't need, he's going to be coming off the bench. We don't need him to average, you know, 10, 15 points and, 10, 15 rebounds. We don't need that. We just need him to come in, hold the paint down, get the defensive rebounds and contest shots. And I think that's something that Cantor wasn't doing very well. Was coming in and holding the paint down. I don't think he'll need as much help on defense as Cantor did. So I think Cody Zeller fits pretty well. It's obviously not a big name and a big move that's going to make everyone go crazy, but I think it's for what we could do. I think it's a perfect move.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think about it like that, like all we really need in from our bench, especially the bench center, we just need him to hold his ground, not give up too many points, and I think he can do that. So that's why like I'm not upset about it in any way. I was just whelmed. That's the best way
Yeah,
to put it.
yeah, I get it. And with with Cody Zeller, you brought up the point he hasn't been healthy, and that's the biggest issue. If he's not healthy for us, then even though it's a veteran minimum, we
Mhm.
we are investing in him to be there for us, and we need him there. Now losing Zach Collins, losing Carmelo, most likely I'm gonna assume Enes Kanter does not come back to us. We're now
And Giles
down.
too.
And Giles, true, yeah, and Giles. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with him. Hopefully, I would like to see him come back, but who knows? So the next player that was kind of quietly added, and we still don't know much about it, is Ben McLemore, and I kind of like it. I don't think it's a bad ad, honestly. I'm assuming it's going to be for a minimum deal. I don't think it's going to be for anything more than that. But I think coming off the bench, I think he can help a little bit at least. Maybe it's, you know, 10 minutes, but I think I don't think he's terrible. So
Um, I didn't like this one at all for a couple different reasons. First of all, he's only 6'3", so he's an undersized shooting guard. If you play him at small forward, like that's just not working out no matter what. He's a good shooter, but he's not a great shooter either. Last year was 39%, but like other than that, oh sorry, last year was 37%, and he's career 36. So he had a couple years of 40 where like that kind of brings up his career average, but overall he's just like above average shooter. He's not a great shooter. He's not really a good defender, and honestly, if he's seeing the floor when we have Dame, probably CJ, Norm, and Simons, I don't think there's a reason for him to see the floor. And if we don't really need that much depth at the guard, I would have wanted to get another center Or if we were gonna get a guard, I would have wanted a playmaking backup point guard, because
Mhm.
playmaking on the bench unit was kind of an issue last year. So yeah, I just like he's a fine player, but I think his skills are extremely redundant with our current roster.
And I just want to add, I don't think he's gonna get much playing time unless injuries happen. But I'm okay with him being one of those depth players that we just have at the end of the bench, and if we need it, he's there.
I agree with Fawad here. He he's clearly getting brought to be a 3, and he's undersized, and we've got enough shooting guards making small forwards right now.
That's
And
true.
it just adds up. I would be way happier if we got the news that Rondé got resigned. But seeing Ben McLemore, I don't know if that's happened. I think Rondé has shown more in his last season and has shown he can play with this roster. So I think it'd be a smarter signing for now. But yeah, I don't hate it. I don't really have a huge opinion on it. If he's a reserve, I'm okay with it. But I think there's other reserves I'd rather have than Macklemore.
And it also comes down to if it is a vet minimum, then I would be okay with it. If it's any more than that, then that's where I would probably have an issue with it. So
I think they have said that it was a minimum.
did they? Okay, I haven't seen that yet. One last little thing, and it's not a big deal. We signed Tony Snell. Pretty much all he is a sharp shooter. He just shoots threes. I've watched very little of him, but I have watched games of him, and he sits in the corner and he'll hit the threes if he's open. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add to it. I'm not too. It doesn't do anything for me either way. He's
Yeah.
just a 3-point shooter.
He's just there to bank the shot. Not much to do. He can't shot create. He's a better defender than Melo, I'd say. I'd say he kind of is the opposition of Melo leaving. But yeah, other than 3-point shooting, he doesn't got much. But I think it's a decent signing, considering all we do is spot up shoot. Let's bring possibly the best spot up shooter in the league percentage wise.
Yeah, I actually really like this one. So like what we talked about with Ben McLemore, I think Tony Snell just brings that and more. He's taller. He's I think 6'6", 6'5" maybe. He's a better shooter. He shot like insane, like 55% from three last year or something.
56.
56, yeah, like that's ridiculous. And it was for like a he played a lot too, so it wasn't just a small sample size. Um, like even with him, I don't think he'll play too much, but if he does, I think he can bring a lot. Like he's an open shooter, he'll knock down the shot. You need one of those guys, and I think he does that better than Ben McLemore. And like if I would have been fine if we kept McLemore and gave Tony Snell's spot to someone else. But between the two and they play kind of similarly, I definitely prefer Tony Snell.
And I actually would agree with you. I know I said I like Ben McLemore. But if it came down to between Tony Snell or Ben McLemore, I would pick Tony Snell to go in. He's taller, he's a better shooter. I think defense wise, they're probably about the same as far as
Yeah,
Tony
neither of
Snell
them are
doesn't.
anything special.
Yeah, Tony Snell doesn't move very well, so that's his length makes up for it a little bit. But other than that, I like Tony Snell, and I think it's good to have 3-point shooters that are shooting as well as he is. So hopefully that continues, and he shoots well for us. And then in the NBA draft, there wasn't much action for us. We ended up trading into the second round and drafting Greg Brown III. I don't know much about him, so if you guys know anything or feel like you want to say anything, go ahead. I don't really know too much about him.
I don't know much about him either, but his highlight reels are fun to watch.
That is true.
But he's clearly very raw. But Olshey is a pretty good drafter for the second round. So if he pans out, it won't be anytime soon. It'll be like 3-4 years down the line. But it's possible that he does become like a rotation player in his prime,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really affect us like anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think the bigger reason for it was to lower the what's called like our tax bill, because undrafted rookies get a smaller amount than like other veterans. So I think that was probably the biggest reason why we did that.
Yeah, when I saw that we got a pick, I was kind of hoping we were the team that would bet on Sharif, and he fell for like 56 or something. That was completely crazy. But yeah, decent pick. I think the basis on this pick is maybe Chauncey being a good skills coach, and the boys just thought about it and said, let's just try and bring the best physical guy we have available, and let's see what Chauncey can do with him. And Greg is definitely was definitely the most physical player left in the board. And yeah, let's see what Chauncey can make of him.
That is a good point. Let's also, I know we didn't talk about this at all before, but Mike, I know you've got someone in the draft that got drafted, and why don't you just give us a little rundown of? I know you said you know him, so just give us a little rundown on him.
Yeah, I actually kind of play with him. We were on the same team, but we we did the same practices. He played on a team with a couple of my friends, and I played on that club for like 2 weeks, not much, but I kind of sucked at it at basketball. Not gonna lie, but yeah, he was at the time he was not particularly good because he was growing very fast, like and his movements were all clunky, and he had his knees like bending correctly and shit. So he was not. We weren't even looking at him as the better player. We just saw him as the tall guy. But then, as he got older, he got way better moving, and actually went to the best club in Portugal. Controversial thing I'm saying here, but he went to the best club in Portugal, and they corrected everything that he had bad. Like he had a terrible shooting form. They got him a shooting form there, and he had he couldn't run. He couldn't really stand firmly, and when he went there, he just got corrected on everything. And yeah, when he went to Utah, it was right after the first game. I watched with a couple of friends a watch party, and we knew that it was time for finally a Portuguese man to make it to the league, and what better way than a guy we know from probably the richest city of basketball here in Portugal. And yeah, just an elite shot blocker. I'd say the best shot blocker in the draft after Evan Mobley. And he's got some offense game too. He can rebound the ball. He's got actually a decent mid-range shot. He can actually get like 30% of his threes mid-game. So yeah, very, very good pick in the second round by Sacramento. I'm not saying this because he's my friend. I'm saying this because he's definitely not a second round player considering his defensive status. But I think defense gets swept a lot during these days. Like when Dikembe Mutombo averaged 3 blocks on college, he was a top draft pick, and Nehemias Queta averaged 3 blocks in college and was a second round pick. So I don't know. We gotta see his playing tonight. I'm going to watch it for sure. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Which is
Yeah, like,
awesome.
even
It's awesome.
yeah, it's actually like amazing. That's insane. But even
Yeah.
before you told us about him, I was actually looking at second round picks, like who, because we were reported to trade into the second round even a couple of days before the draft. So I was looking at people who I kind of would be interested in, and he caught my eye. I was like, I hope we trade in early second round and draft him. So we just missed him by a couple of picks, but I would have liked him if he could be a nice long term project for us. But hopefully he does good for Sacramento instead.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that would have been crazy if we ended up signing him.
Damn. Can you imagine me getting Melo 1 year in Blazers and him getting my friend on the Blazers? That's too much. Too much.
So we're gonna hop to our next subject here. If we were in control, if we were the GM and we were making the decisions, who would we try to sign? Who would we try to trade? If we could try. I'll do mine just real quick because I want to hear what you guys have to say. If if it was up to me, I kind of like the picks we made. The one pick I would have liked to try to go for, and I don't know if we did or not, was Otto Porter Jr. And it sounds like he was dead set on going to Golden State anyway, so I don't know if it would have mattered with our mid level. But I would have loved to have him on our team. I think that would have checked so many boxes for us if we could have got him. And then obviously, of course, who we need to trade the moment we signed Norman Powell, in my mind, I'm trying to get CJ for somebody that's going to help us. I really, really, really would love to get Pascal Siakam, but I don't think that's going to happen now. At this point, I'm still okay with Ben Simmons. I think re-signing Norman Powell and letting him play the 2, I think Ben Simmons will be helpful for us, but my big goal was Siakam, and unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. So, Fawad, if you were the GM, what would you be going for?
So I just want to touch on Otto Porter really quickly. I've wanted him on Portland for I don't even know how long, like 3 or 4 years.
Me
So
too.
like he feels like he'd be such a perfect fit. So that would have been someone I would have loved, but I didn't think we were really able to get him because I thought he would go for more than what we had. We only had like 6 mil, so I thought he would go for like 10.
I
So
thought
he
so
wasn't
too.
really on my list. He ended up signing a minimum. Did not expect that. Yeah. So my number one target was Nerlens Noel. He's a really good defensive center. I think for a backup, I don't know if there was a better center on the market. I was scared that we didn't have enough money for him, and he did go for I think 3 years, 32 maybe. So yeah, we couldn't have offered him that much. But if we were able to get him somehow, I think that would have been an absolutely like perfect pickup for us. So after we didn't get him, like I knew that I wanted 2 centers at least. We've only signed one like so far with Cody Zeller, so I would have thought either JaVale and Robin Lopez, maybe like one of those two, maybe both, but like one pure center, so like one of those two, and then one someone who can play the 4 and the 5. And Jason Quick said we're interested in what's his name, Paul Millsap. So I think even though he is pretty old now, I still think that would be a good pick. Um, and then I think I said it earlier in the podcast, but I really wanted a backup point guard as well. So like just I don't really have a name in mind. Everyone I saw seemed to be either like too expensive or not good enough. So I don't know if there was like someone out there that fit us, but that was my 3 picks: a backup point guard, a center like Noel or Robin Lopez, and then a 4 or 5, and Millsap fits that. And then as for trades, you said exactly my thoughts. I don't want to get into like the specific trades because that could be like its whole episode. But basically, CJ has to go for a big man or like a wing, and Siakam's definitely my number one option. I don't care if it takes like all 4 of our picks. I think I would make that trade. Um, but yeah, like you said, I don't think it's happening. Toronto really has no reason to be interested in CJ. So without getting into too much of the like trade details, I think my next option would be Tobias Harris for a CJ trade.
I like that one too.
And then I've seen a couple of people say they'd be fine with a starter and a role player, which I would be fine with too. I just don't think Neil O'Shea would go for something like that.
I mean, he's held out this long, so
Yeah, I think he wants a big name.
yeah.
Yeah, as I said before, I did 2 scenarios, one before free agency started, and I didn't really have a basis on what to go on, considering the contracts they're going for. And I did one, right, like 1 hour ago with some updated, but some of them are the same players. So the first one, which I did 4 days ago, the first thing I do, the first thing everyone does is resign Norman, of course, and the second thing I do is trade CJ to the Pelicans for Josh Hart.
Whoa.
And sign and trade Derrick Jones too to the Pelicans for Josh Hart. And this is opening a space. Of course, this is kind of unrealistic, but I gotta try it. Opening the space to sign Kawhi Leonard to a $40 million contract, and that way the lineup would look something like Damian Lillard, Norman Powell, Kawhi, Rocco, and Nurkic, which is living in a dreamland. Let's be honest. But I think dumping the CJ contract, and he'd actually be good for the Pelicans because they need that guard. So it wouldn't be really be dumping, but we get Josh Hart back just to be a nice depth player. And yeah, signed Kawhi, signed Patty Mills to a two-year, $12 million contract, and signed, as I said before, Cody Zeller, which unfortunately, very unfortunately, is the only thing I got right on this one. And the second one I did is kind of more realistic. Of course, let everybody walk. Melo, Cantor, Derek, Collins, Giles, Blevins, leave, and start off with the trade. Start off with the Norman signing and start off with the trade. CJ McCollum, Anthony Simons, CJ Alabi. This year's first, 26 second, and 24 Atlanta second for Ben Simmons. It's may seem like a lot, but they're asking for a lot, and I think Ben is the perfect target right now for us. And it's probably the only realistic one at this point. That's why I did this one updated. He's probably the only realistic top target we can get for CJ, and adding Ant, Ellaby, and a few picks might tip the bucket for that. Other deals I did here were sign Robin Lopez, which is a guy that I was really high on. Sign George Hill, sign and trade included in the 76ers trade. Get Justin Winslow in a $30 million 3 years, because Justice, he's a good defender. He can even bring playmaking in the floor. He's a very good player. And then sign off the summer league Kenneth Farid and Michael Beasley, and sign Kendrick Nunn for 2 years, $10 million. That be for me the ideal scenario. Of course, I like the Kawhi more, but let's be real. That would be the ideal scenario. We'd run with something like Dame, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, Ben Simmons, and Nurkic, and off the bench we could have Kendrick Nunn, Rondé, Justice Winslow, and Nasir Little to tip it off, and George Hill. And I think that would be a very good lineup. Actually, not very unrealistic because all the players I picked actually moved, so they were keen on moving. I didn't pick any guy who resigned or that had a place in his mind. It's just players that were ringing for offers, and we could have went for him, but we didn't, and this is what I would have done.
Well, damn, Mike, you went in on that one.
Yeah,
You had it all played out.
I had some grudges holding. Yeah.
So before we wrap this all up and get to our Blazer moments, let's just give a quick little farewell to Mike's homeboy, Carmelo. He decided to go to the Lakers. Mike, why don't you just let us know how you feeling right now?
Yeah, when Melo came to the Blazers, it was kind of a perfect marriage for me because my favorite player, my favorite team, and especially when actually my favorite team and my favorite player really needed each other, because Melo was out of the league for like 1 year, and we were starting Anthony Tolliver, so it was kind of mutual interest for both. But yeah, he did exactly what I hoped in the league back in the Blazers, which is regain his name, prove he can still do it, and now he's joining his boy LeBron James. I never thought I'd be supporting a LeBron James game ever in my life, but every game not against the Blazers, I'll be rooting for them. After Melo leaves, I go back hating the Lakers. But yeah, I earlier did a bet with a friend. He said if Melo wins a ring, I gotta get a Lakers tattoo with Melo's name
Uh-oh.
on the L of the Lakers, like my picture. So yeah, that'll be dangerous. But yeah, let's go. I'm excited for it.
So go for it.
I just got some horrible flashbacks when you talked about Anthony Tolliver when he
Yeah.
started a couple games for
Yeah,
us
yeah.
at center. That was
That's a bad
oh my
word to say
god.
around here.
Yeah.
That and Raymond Felton, those are two bad words.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Tolliver was a good guy though. He
That's
was nice.
true. That is
He
true.
just didn't work out on the
Smiley guy
court.
on the court.
That is true. So we're gonna move to our top 3 or our top Blazer moments. Each of us are gonna give one. I think a lot of us probably thought of the very first thing that came to our mind was obviously Lillard hitting that shot over OKC. So I just figured instead of us all saying the same thing, let's just all quickly just how you felt when that happened, and I'll start off. I remember watching that game, and I always put my chair really close to the TV in the living room, and my wife sits behind me while I watch it, and I'm yelling at the TV, telling them what they need to do, like that's helping them. And I remember it was late at night. I think it was like 10:30 at night, and I remember him like standing there dribbling, not moving, and I'm like, how crazy of a game he's been having. This is for 50 points. He's gonna make this shot. He's gonna hit this. And Paul George is right in his face. And he pulls up and just drills it. And I ran around my living room probably 30 times. My dog's chasing me around. I'm going crazy. And my wife looks at me and goes, I wish I was recording that because I lost my mind. It was without a doubt one of the best shots I've ever seen. And it was so exciting. And to wave Westbrook and the Thunder goodbye and how much Westbrook was talking trash all series long. It was just obviously a lot of people that's their favorite moment, and that's a really high one for me. But just you can't even like every time you watch it, you're still in amazement of what he was doing that game, and it was just crazy. How did you guys feel about that game?
I like a lot of it was the same as you. Going into that series, I didn't have a lot of expectations because we lost Nurk, and I thought Nurk is, he is one of the biggest, like, one of the best players on the team. So I didn't have much hope without him. I thought it might go to 7 and either one of us would win. So when we were up 3-1, so I was already happy. And then that last shot when he's just dribbling out the clock, I'm like, what is he doing? There's like 2 seconds left. Like, hurry up and drive or just take a closer three or something. And this guy just pulled up from 37 feet, and my like jaw was on the floor, and it went in. I was like, oh, I was just stunned. I didn't run around or anything. I was just like, did that really just happen? Did I witness like that shot? It was like a storybook ending. It was just perfect in every way.
Yeah, I had a similar reaction to Alex right there. I broke my gaming chair because I instantly started jumping together with my chair. And before, I wasn't optimistic about the shot. I was actually feeling really like Lillard had such an amazing night, and now he's got Paul George on him. But I learned that night to never not trust Lillard. So
Never.
yeah, best shot I've ever seen in basketball for sure. After a couple Mel ones, of course. But yeah, amazing shot.
And I mean, go ahead,
No,
Fawad.
go ahead. You go ahead.
I mean, he has changed the way I look at basketball. There's not a shot that he takes that I don't think he can make.
Yeah,
And it's
100%.
insane. And Paul George was the same way because Paul George said that was a bad shot, and then he changed his mind real quick after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's literally no shot on the court that I wouldn't be okay with Dame taking.
That goes for Lillard and Jeremy Lamb.
Jeremy Lamb only against Toronto though.
Yeah.
That's
Go.
when he hit the 2-game winner. But yeah, other than the OKC Game 5, one of my all-time favorite Blazer moments was that same year, the next round. Honestly, I was really between Game 3 and 7. I think I'm gonna go with Game 3 that I preferred a little bit more, which is the 4 OT one.
Great game.
Like I'm in the East Coast, so I don't even remember what time it was. Maybe like 2 a.m. by the time we hit 4 OT, and I was just like, yo, like we can't go to 4 OTs just to lose. I was already like so devastated. I was like, please pull out this win. And then you see Jokic playing 65 minutes and he's still running up and down
Insane.
the court. I was like, how is this possible? And then you see Rodney Hood come in. He like hopped onto the court. He was skipping down the court, and he hit a couple shots, and then he hit that big three. That was I was losing my mind. I was like, that's when I was like, hey, whatever happens with Rodney Hood with the rest, if he doesn't re-sign after that, I'm fine. He's automatically a Blazers legend.
Yep, that was a
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
game. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, my favorite moment. I gotta go with. I don't know, it's tough. Y'all robbed me of some good moments, but all time, I gotta go with the Brandon Roy game winner. Wait, no,
Against Houston?
I might go with Dame Lillard game winner. I don't know, it's too much. It's too much emotion right now, but yeah, I'll go with the Brandon Roy game winner against Houston Rockets. Absolute legendary shot.
Ugh.
I just miss that man. Even though he'd probably be a minimum vet right now, I just miss that man, and yeah, very tough to talk about it. But yeah, props to the Lillard game-winning shot too. And a recent moment. There's a funny story because I literally saw every game this season live, and I missed when Carmelo dropped 17 points in the fourth quarter. That was the only game I didn't watch because I had stuff to do, and I went to a party night out, and I usually come back earlier to see the Blazers, which is like 3 a.m., so it makes sense. But yeah, that night I stayed, I didn't watch, and I saw Melo like before the fourth quarter. He was like 6 points. Oh, then I didn't miss much. We were losing, and then I get back home. I go on Discord. I have like 7 tags in the Discord, and it was just a crazy moment. But because I didn't watch that live, I'll go with a Melo game winner versus the Raptors. That
Oh,
was
yep.
that. That was that. I'm back, and perfect moment. It almost made me cry. But yeah,
I was actually at that game. I'm from Toronto,
damn.
so I saw that game in person, and I saw Melo before the game, like 2 feet away from me. Not two,
Damn.
maybe like 10 feet away from me.
Want to continue on this rampage to make me fucking jealous?
I didn't get to talk to him or anything. I just saw him waiting for an elevator, and I took a picture of him, not with him.
Yeah, hopefully, probably 2022-2023 season is his last season, so I'm thinking of going to the States and watching the game.
So you brought up Brandon Roy's shot against Houston. Funny story. Tracy McGrady obviously is my all-time favorite player.
Yeah.
I got offered free tickets to go to that game, but I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was only offered one ticket, and I decided I don't want to go unless she can go, so I said no to that ticket. So not only did I miss watching Tracy play, and actually I think that was the last time he was actually really good. That was the last time he played there where he was really good. I also missed that shot. And knowing that I could have been there, it drives me crazy to know I missed that because that was insane. For me, I'll just do it real quick. Mine is actually I decided to go with Brandon Roy, and it was the Game 4 against Dallas Mavericks. It's actually pretty much the first time I watched the Blazers and was like, you know what? Once Tracy's gone, this is my team. Even though they're my local team, I'm like, this is who I want to watch. We were down by 20, I think it was at one point, and Brandon Roy just with no knees and just on his last legs made this insane. And if you guys have not seen it, you go on YouTube and just type in Game 4 Brandon Roy. It is one of the most crazy comebacks I've ever seen in playoff history. Just making every shot, getting fouled, hitting 4-point plays, just everything that he needed to do. Kind of like what Lillard was doing that one game against Denver this year. It just was insane. And that was the part where I was like, I'm a Blazer fan. Brandon Roy is amazing, and he's got no knees, and he's doing this. And unfortunately, I think that was probably the last great game that he ever had with us. But it was so fun to watch, and when I think back to it, it gets me all excited again because it was just insane to watch.
Yeah, this game 4 versus Dallas.
Yes.
Uh, I think I have some recollection of this, but I never revisited it. I'm
Oh,
certainly gonna watch it.
I tell you, watch it. It is insane what he does. It is crazy.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I'm done.
I don't think so. We just have one roster spot left. We'll see what
Yep.
happens with that.
One left, and we still have that mid-level exception, so we'll see.
Actually, I think we have
Let's
one
go.
or two. Like it's up to if we want to get to 15. I don't think
Yeah.
we will go to 15. We'll just stay at 14. So
Yeah.
just one left then.
Well, I appreciate everyone stopping in, and we finally got to our Blazer moments, and we're going to continue that, and we'll do more Blazer moments later on. But for now, we just went with one each, and we appreciate you guys listening. As always, join our Discord, follow us on Twitter, give us stuff to talk about, talk with us. We're here. We're just here to have a good time. I want to thank My Life Pursuing for the song tonight. I Am Trying, Jennifer. Check them out on all the Spotify, iTunes, Apple, everything. I think it's everywhere. So just check it out. And as always, Rip City, baby.